It's coming, 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 coming.
What is going on, Voyagers? It's your boy Finicki back with another video, and today I am going to be doing a video that was requested quite a bit, and it is about my settings for me as a controller player on PC and as well as on console. Things that I look for when it comes to control. A lot of it comes down to preference, and you'll probably see that today. And I'm going to be talking about my own as well as a few of my friends and what they use, as they are top control players as well, but they also have different settings than I. And yeah, so we're going to go over what certain settings do and what mine are now. Boom. Okay, so we're going to go to settings first. So just talking controller, we're not going to talk about gameplay stuff or video stuff, but just controller. So button layout, it says customized, but it's really button puncher. I was doing that way earlier. I did the same thing. All it is toggle and melee are different. So the button puncher is what I use, just because I come from a Call of Duty Halo background. It's just something that I'm kind of used to. Things are pretty similar when it comes to bumper jumper for a lot of Call of Duty players. These two are pretty normal. I don't know much about Evolved, Grenader, and then Ninja. I don't know much about these, but I know some people playing the default as well. If you guys end up using like a ScuFF controller, which is a controller that has paddles on the back like I do, you guys can use you can kind of set it up to whatever you want it to be, to whatever fits your playstyle, whatever you feel like your buttons that you need to be using the most. I have it on my most prioritized buttons that I use often, which is jump, melee, interact, and like switch weapon and like take weapon out, right? So that's why I particularly think that's important to have paddles, or just something that you're comfortable with, that you don't feel like you're at a disadvantage when it comes to just settings when you're facing another player, to get it to where you're not even thinking about it. It's just reactionary. Stick layout, once again, don't have any of this different. I didn't ever play GoldenEye, so I know this happened. It's an old game. There was a lot of different stick layouts, just for different games. Reload button, I use tap to reuse reload. Some people like using the hold one, just because they would rather know for a fact they're getting a reload instead of opening a door or something like that. I don't really see it as a huge issue, and I've used it since the beginning, so I just have regular tap to use and reload. Crouch button, some people have it on hold. I would not recommend it, just due to the fact of how much slide into a jump you do to carry your momentum. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, whenever you're sprinting and you're on just an even surface, if you sprint and then you like slide and then you jump, you actually get like 1.3% more speed of what you normally would if you're just sprinting. So a lot of people take advantage of that, and so I don't use hold to crouch because I'm crouching all the time using my right stick. So that's what I do. Aim button, this is where if all I had to do, if my left trigger is my aim button, like my ADS button, click it once, and then all you would have to, like, it's automatically ADSing the whole time instead of holding it down, which is not normal. Most people usually do just hold. Trigger dead zones, I'm not very familiar with this, but evidently it's about how sensitive the triggers are when you're pressing them. I don't really mess with this. I think it depends on the controller. Some manufacturers have a harder, I guess it would be like a zone where people are able to press down. You have to press harder. The tension, that's what I'm trying to say. Some controllers have different tension, but with the default PS4 controller or with the ScuFF Vantage like I have, you don't really have to mess with any of your trigger dead zones. Cursor speed, this is what you see I'm moving this little cursor, like if I move it up, like how fast it moves. This also determines how quickly you move inside a a loot box. So you guys need to make sure that this is so crucial. Make sure you find a speed that is so comfortable for you to be able to be under control, but do it quickly when it comes to loot boxing, or getting loot. Look sensitivity, I go 6'4". It's a little high. Friends like Daltouche and I'm trying to think like Slurpee and like Nicewig and Cujo. That I think Cujo plays on 5, or I think it's 5'4" or maybe 6'4". He plays on a little bit higher. I know there's a lot of like Slurp and other good controller players. They play on a little bit lower, like 3'3" or 4'4" or a 5'5". Reason why I like 6'4" is because whenever I like to not ADS sometimes, and so with PC specifically, and I guess I was doing it on console as well, I would rather be able to keep up and be able to move like back and forth really quickly if someone's shooting behind me or if I'm just not ADSing. Started with me in Halo 3 a long time ago. I was used to higher sensitivity, so that's just kind of what happens. So this is the per optic setting. This is pretty cool. You can go into, it's a little bit more advanced stuff. And you can go into like if you have an 8 times, 10 times, 6 times, 4 times, you can change your sensitivity on whenever you're ADSing. I don't particularly do it because I feel pretty good on 4. The only thing I would really change would be like maybe 8 or 10, just because if you're like if it's super far away, you need to be able to move a little bit quicker. But that's my recommendation. Other people may have different things. But once like we'll go with response curve. I'm a classic guy. I really enjoyed it. I did play on steady for a little bit of time. It was okay. I didn't really find that my gameplay was much different than classic, so I just went back to classic because I was so used to it. Steady, or yeah. Fine aim. I have not touched it, I'll be honest. High velocity, have not touched it. I have tried linear. It's pretty difficult, I'll be honest. But the one thing, like if you guys know who Calamity is, he's a really good controller player. He plays on linear, which is raw input, and he fries. And it looks super clean on his. I think it's because of his response curve. It kind of depends on what you want to do. This is a preference thing, 100%, but I would recommend staying on a steady or a classic. But if you want to try your luck and get pretty good with linear, for sure do that. Dead zone, I describe it as like a window. If you are fighting somebody, they're placed in a window in front of you, right? And if you have a small dead zone, it'll help you stay in that little window. But if somebody jumps in front of that window, it takes that person, because whatever's the most priority or closest to you. So then it'll boom, we're here. And that's what dead zone is. So I used to play on no dead zone because I would like to stay on whatever person I was aiming at. And so even if somebody went across, I would still stay on that person. That's just my play style, how I wanted to do it. But since I moved to PC, it's a lot easier for me to be able to look at this, and I'd rather stick on to whatever is in front of me, because it happens a lot in competitive where people are stacked up, so you just need to do as much damage as possible. At least how I look at movement dead zone. I don't really mess with this type of stuff. But if you have like a stick drift, if you have some sort of stick drift, movement dead zone would probably be on. No vibration, inverted look, once again, not a dead eye, golden eye, whatever it is. I don't do any advanced look settings because those are these are wild, and I just don't mess with them. But yeah, that's what I do, and hopefully that described things well. I know I've discussed 6'4" sensitivity and like what the first part means, and then like what ADS means. So if you have that, I'll link below my other controller video of settings and stuff. But this is just a requested video, and I decided to throw it on there. Hope you guys enjoy it. But this has been your boy Finicki signing out and blasting off. Hope to see you again for another. God bless. Deuces, baby.